Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. Democrats inching forward on President Biden's social spending bill. What central issue is Biden backing down from? And what else are they compromising on? President Biden says the U.S. would defend Taiwan if the Chinese Communist regime were to lead an attack. Biden made the comments at a town hall meeting. A woman died and a man was wounded after Hollywood actor Alec Baldwin accidentally fired a prop gun on a movie set. The investigation is still ongoing. The current Senate is the oldest in American history, and so is the president. A senator says older government leaders should take cognitive tests to show they are fit to serve. It doesn't look like today will be the day. Democrat leaders in Congress wanted a compromise on President Biden's agenda this week, but one of the holdouts says they need more time. Still, they're optimistic they'll reach a deal eventually. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
President Biden expressed optimism Thursday that Democrats in Congress will reach a deal on a spending plan for the country. He took questions about his domestic agenda at a CNN town hall in Baltimore.
Bottom line, do you think you will get a deal?
I do think I'll get a deal.
Democrats finalizing talks over key aspects of the legislation, trying to win over moderates Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. Biden says they've cut paid parental leave down to 4 weeks.
Yeah, it is down to 4 weeks. And the reason it's down to 4 weeks, they can't get 12 weeks.
He also backed away from including corporate tax increases in the bill. The tax compromise could help sell the plan to Sinema, who's expressed concerns about including tax hikes. The chair of the Progressive Caucus says even without the tax increases, they'll find a way to pay for the bill.
We're not going to increase taxes on people earning under $400,000. We will find other ways to do it, and it will be paid for.
One of the clean energy provisions will also likely be scrapped. It would give utilities federal grants to increase their share of electricity from clean energy sources and penalize those that don't. Biden says Manchin is open to reallocating money from that provision to other climate programs.
Joe is open to my convincing him that I can use it to increase environmental progress without it being that particular deal.
Manchin represents West Virginia, which relies on coal. He disagrees with some of the energy provisions in the bill. Democrat leaders had hoped to reach a deal by the end of this week, but Manchin told reporters Thursday this is not going to happen anytime soon. Biden made clear to Democrats this week that his goal is to have a locked-in framework agreement that would clear the way for a House vote before he arrives at the United Nations Climate Conference in Glasgow in less than 2 weeks. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
President Biden says the United States is committed to defending Taiwan if the Chinese regime attacks the self-ruled island. It could signal a change in the U.S.'s strategic ambiguity strategy.
China just tested a hypersonic missile. What will you do to keep up with them militarily, and can you vow to protect Taiwan?
Yes and yes. We are militarily, China, Russia, and the rest of the world knows we have the most powerful military in the history of the world. Don't worry about whether they're going to be more powerful. What you do have to worry about is whether or not they're going to engage in activities that will put them in a position where they may make a serious mistake. And so I have spoken and spent more time with Xi Jinping than any other world leader has.
So are you saying that the United States would come to Taiwan's defense if China attacked?
Yes, we have a commitment to do that.
The United States doesn't have a commitment to defend Taiwan under the Taiwan Relations Act, but Washington is required by law to provide the island with the means to defend itself. The Chinese Communist Party claims Taiwan is a province of China, but the democratically governed island has its own constitution, military, and political parties. Biden's comments come after Beijing escalated military harassment against the island, most notably with a show of military force in Taiwan's air defense zone. A U.S. regulator has handed a record reward of almost $200 million to a whistleblower who provided key information about global benchmark manipulation. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission announced the award on Thursday without disclosing details. The law firm Kirby McInerney says the whistleblower is one of its clients. The client gave information and documents that catalyzed investigations into benchmark manipulation. The whistleblower's attorney says the award amount may seem shockingly large, but it's because the ability to make huge profits through manipulation is shocking too. In the past decade, authorities have levied multi-billion-dollar fines and pursued criminal charges globally against those who rig global benchmarks. Hollywood actor Alec Baldwin accidentally fired a prop gun on a movie set Thursday, killing one of his crew members and injuring another. Investigation is still underway and no charges have been filed.
The accident occurred Thursday on the set of the movie Rust, which was filming on a ranch south of Santa Fe, New Mexico. 2 victims were shot as 68-year-old producer and actor Alec Baldwin discharged a prop gun. According to the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, cinematographer Helena Hutchins was airlifted to the University of New Mexico Hospital, where she died of her injuries. Director Joel Sousa was receiving emergency care at another hospital. Baldwin was later seen in tears outside the sheriff's office. Production of the Western movie has now been halted. The investigation is still underway, and no charges have been filed. Just on Tuesday, Hutchins uploaded a selfie video of herself riding a horse. A number of colleagues have paid tribute to her on social media. The shooting evoked memories of another on-set accident. In 1993, actor Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee, was fatally wounded by a prop gun while filming The Crow. Lee's sister posted on his behalf, saying, "Our hearts go out to the family of Helena Hutchins and Joel Sousa and all involved in the incident on Rust. No one should ever be killed by a gun on a film set."
The November deadline for all Navy active duty personnel to be vaccinated is approaching. In the Navy's new order, unvaccinated sailors could be discharged or possibly fined to recoup money spent on training them. Earlier, I spoke with Mike Berry, the First Liberty Institute's general counsel, who is representing 40 active duty Navy SEALs. And while the Navy says sailors will be able to apply for religious exemptions, Berry said some of them who applied are being harassed and intimidated while they wait for a response. He says what the Department of Defense is doing is unconstitutional.
And the reason is because these brave warriors have sincere religious objections to this vaccine. They're submitting religious accommodation requests, but the Navy has said they don't intend on granting or approving any of those requests, and that they're going to begin, just as you said, processing them to kick them out of the Navy. And a lot of these SEALs have been told, even if their religious exemption is approved, they're going to be kicked out of the Navy SEALs, which is just adding insult to injury, if you ask me.
Let's look at this from a public health perspective. The Defense Health Agency said in July the vaccine efficacy is very good, with relatively few breakthrough cases reported among those in the military. Is there a way to carry out this vaccine mandate that's legal and fair?
Sure there is. Look, the Department of Defense absolutely has the ability and the authority to issue a vaccine mandate, but when it does that, it's going to have to follow the law. Just like any other military order or directive that's ever been issued in the history of this country, right? The commander, the general, the president, whomever issues that order, they have the right to issue an order, but the order has to comply with the law. And in this case, that law happens to be the First Amendment. There happens to be federal law. There's DoD regulations that all say, look, if you're going to make a vaccine mandatory, you have to allow for medical exemptions, religious exemptions, administrative exemptions. And it seems like the DoD is picking on people of faith and saying, yeah, we're going to grant medical exemptions, but we're not going to grant religious exemptions. That's unconstitutional and it's illegal.
And I hear from reporters the Chinese web is all about vaxxing U.S. service members. So do you think that this is going to create some type of bad optics on the international scale?
Well, I mean, I think it already has, right? Look, our 40 U.S. Navy SEALs, I'll just put it this way. Collectively, they have over 350 years of military experience. They have more than 100 combat deployments to their credit. And yet these are the people you want to kick out. They should be spending their time and their energy and resources defending us, right? Meanwhile, China is launching hypersonic weapons around the globe. Iran is enriching uranium so that they can build a nuclear weapon. And yet our focus and our energy is on kicking out Navy SEALs who have sincere religious beliefs and objections to a vaccine. What kind of message does that send to the world about where the United States is when we're supposed to be leaders, right? We're supposed to be leading the way and demonstrating what it means to be a free country and what it means to have liberty. And instead, we're enacting these draconian policies that are only going to weaken our military and make our nation vulnerable. So it sends the absolutely wrong message.
Lieutenant Commander Patricia Kreuzberger at the U.S. Navy responded to NTD. She said the reason why the branch requires vaccines is to help with combat readiness. She said it helps sailors be able to deploy around the world and serve the mission. What's more, that the Navy is looking at each religious exemption on a case-by-case basis with a process in place to review them. A group of parents in Illinois has filed a lawsuit against nearly 150 school districts and public officials challenging mask and quarantine policies. Governor J.B. Pritzker issued an order over the summer requiring masks in school for everyone, regardless of vaccination status. The parents argue that Illinois schools do not have the authority to mandate masks or quarantine without parental consent and an order from a local health department. Pritzker, the superintendent of the state's Board of Education, and the director of the state's health department are also listed as defendants in the lawsuit. No comment from Pritzker on the lawsuit. Volunteers are signing up for patrol duty along the southern border. They want to deter illegal immigrants from crossing through residential communities. Here's an exclusive interview with one of them.
More creek back behind me here.
Terry Anderson is the founder and director of Patriots at Large. He was patrolling the U.S.-Mexican border when NTD reached out to him. He pulled over to talk to us somewhere between Valverde County and Kinney County, Texas. He said the border towns are disenfranchised. They are left in a position where they have to defend themselves against a surge of migrants who cut through their properties and communities.
You know, the thing that I've noticed is that, and the people that we have talked to, you know, they said that they're scared. They say that the people that they talk to in their communities are scared. They don't go out. The streets are kind of quiet. Well, they're really quiet. You see people out working. You don't see any kids on the street. Nobody's in the parks, you know.
He says it's nothing less than an invasion, and he wants to help protect those border communities.
And I think that's what our country needs. I think that, you know, we need to stand together as Americans and help protect our fellow American citizens. You know, these are our brothers and sisters. It's like this part of our country that has been forgotten down here, I think. I mean, obviously we talk about it, and we try to do something about the immigration, but we forget about the communities that are down here.
He recently heard a story about a 70-year-old woman that was assaulted and robbed by immigrants. He says he volunteers to patrol because it's the right thing to do.
Earlier this week, they had actually kind of saw some people, and they actually kind of just by, you know, use of their presence, you know, force them to take a different direction. And and by doing that, it kind of, then they radioed into DPS or the sheriff, and it kind of funneled these migrants towards where the sheriffs were at, and they were able to apprehend about 30 people, from what I understand.
Anderson said people are volunteering around the country to help out along the border. He even said his 80-year-old uncle wants to come down and help defend the country. Anyone who wants to volunteer or donate can contact patriotsforamerica.militia.com. We asked Customs and Border Patrol for comment on Texans securing their own border. They replied that they defer to the state of Texas on that matter. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt fired a lawsuit against President Biden and the Homeland Security Secretary. They want to resume construction of the wall at the U.S.-Mexico border. And they're challenging the administration for refusing to spend the money allocated for the border wall amid a worsening border crisis. They say the president's actions violate the separation of powers and the Take Care Clause of the Constitution. $1.3 billion was mandated for the wall in 2020 and 2021. When Biden ended border wall construction, he described it as wasteful and ineffective. But Homeland Security has spent funds repairing some sections of the wall that were already built. Water levels are reaching record lows in the Southwest, and authorities are looking for solutions. But the problem may get even worse in the future because of population growth, as the Southwest will likely have millions more residents in the next 30 years. Here are the details.
Earlier this year, the Federal Bureau of Reclamation declared a water shortage at Lake Mead along the Colorado River for the first time ever. The Lake Mead Reservoir provides water to Southwest states, including Nevada, Arizona, and California. But it's remained below full capacity since 1983 due to increased water demand and drought. The Southwest has to figure out solutions to the water shortage fast. Population growth in the region could worsen the problem. Arizona's population grew by more than 2 million in the past 2 decades, from 5 million in 2000 to over 7 million now. Nonprofit organization Numbers USA estimates in a 2020 report that Arizona's population will grow by another 3 million in another 30 years. And the population of the Southwest could grow by 30 million by 2050. The organization found that internal migration within the U.S. is responsible for 56% of Arizona's population growth from 2000 to 2015. The United Van Lines Mover study shows that Arizona was the nation's 5th most popular state for internal migration in 2020. Utah and Nevada have also experienced net inbound migration. That's despite national trends going the other way. Internal migration in the country reached a 73-year low prior to the pandemic.
Republican Senator Bill Cassidy is suggesting that older government leaders should take cognitive tests. This comes amid reports that lawmakers in all 3 branches of government are older.
In an interview with HBO, Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana supported the idea of cognitive tests for older government leaders. Cassidy, who is also a physician, says, "I'm told there have been senators in the past who, at the end of their Senate terms, were senile. I'm told that was true of senators of both parties." The 64-year-old senator goes on to say that we each have a sacred responsibility to the people of the United States. It is not about me. It is about my ability to serve the people. The current Senate is the oldest in history. The average age is 63. 5 senators are in their 80s. The oldest is California Democrat Dianne Feinstein, aged 88. The second oldest is Iowa Republican Chuck Grassley, also 88 years old. 23 senators are in their 70s. House members are on average 58 years old. The oldest is 88-year-old Republican Congressman Don Young from Alaska. And the oldest justice on the Supreme Court, Justice Stephen Breyer, is 83. President Biden is the oldest sitting president at age 78. He would be 86 if he were to finish serving 2 terms. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki recently said that Biden will undergo a physical examination soon.
And another thing we keep asking about, the president's physical. Last month, you said it would be soon. We're now in October. Do you have any update? And why is it taking so long? Is the president just very busy? Does he, not?
He is very busy, but it is standard for every president to get a physical. He will get a physical too. When he gets a physical, we will make all of that information available to all of you.
Still plan on it.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
But she didn't announce a specific date.
Real estate heir Robert Durst has been charged in New York State with the murder of his first wife. Authorities confirmed on Friday. This comes a week after he was sentenced in California to life in prison for murdering his best friend, Susan Berman, in 2000. A state police investigator filed a criminal complaint Tuesday in Lewisboro, New York, accusing Durst of second-degree murder of Kathy McCormick Durst, who went missing in January 1982. Her body was never found. An Arizona gas station cashier is most likely grateful for the help of a veteran who foiled an armed robbery on Wednesday. Take a look at this dramatic video. According to local law enforcement, 3 armed robbers entered the gas station, pointing a gun toward the cashier. As you can see, the quick-thinking former Marine immediately grabs the gun with his hand, disarming the robber as the other 2 run away. The sheriff's office said they arrested a juvenile on suspicion of armed robbery and aggravated assault. The veteran said he was able to take control because, quote, "the Marine Corps taught me not to mess around." It turns out someone may have to be behind the wheel of an autopilot Tesla that was involved in a deadly crash in Texas. Federal investigators say previously unreleased evidence shows someone was in the driver's seat when the vehicle crashed and burst into flames back in April. Police in Texas reported no one was driving the Tesla, leading to speculation about the car's autopilot system. 2 people inside of the vehicle died. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the car was going 67 miles per hour in a 30-mile-per-hour zone. It says the computer showed the driver and passenger seats were occupied, their seatbelts were buckled, and the driver was applying the accelerator leading up to the crash. New York City has one of the most beautiful skylines in the world. Seeing it from above can be breathtaking. Now there's a new attraction that lets you do just that. NTD's Arian Pastar was at the grand opening, 90 stories above Manhattan.
The experience starts with this elevator, bringing visitors to the 91st floor. Right after getting out, an open hall awaits with glass panels on all sides. The hall offers views over all 5 boroughs and even parts of New Jersey. Most attendees at the opening were most fascinated by the south side view overlooking downtown Manhattan. The observatory is called Air because of its sunny and refreshing design. It aims to give people an escape from the concrete jungle. On top of that, a glass elevator has been added, going from the 93rd floor on the outside of the building all the way to the top. Once arrived, it will stay there for a few minutes and then go down again, offering the best views possible. And the new observatory has more than just views. Besides enjoying views and just looking at things, visitors can come into this interactive room where they can touch and play with the balloons and, of course, take great pictures with amazing backgrounds. Of course, snacks, coffee and more can be purchased as well, all while relaxing 1,000 feet above ground and looking over the Big Apple. Mayoral candidate Eric Adams says the new attraction shows not only that New York City is back, but that America is back, which embodies the American dream.
There's no French dream, there's no German dream, there's no Polish dream, but damn it, there's an American dream.
The observatory opens to the public on Thursday and the entry costs $35 per person. Arian Pastar, NTD News, New York.
The state of Ohio unveiled a new standard license plate on Twitter Thursday. It's a big deal because the last time Ohio updated its standard license plate design was in 2013. The new plate honors Dayton's Orville and Wilbur Wright. The brothers are credited with the first flight in a manned aircraft. But the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles apparently got the design wrong. Take a close look. The banner is trailing from the wrong end of the plane. The department sent out a tweet acknowledging the mistake. In response, the North Carolina Department of Transportation jokingly tweeted, "Y'all leave Ohio alone. They wouldn't know. They weren't there." You see, North Carolina is where the Wright brothers actually made that historic flight. The new Ohio plate will be available to drivers starting December 29th. Coming up, we look deep into the mysteries of the night sky to find the photons shooting across space for 50 million light years and what they teach us about the sacred. More on that soon here on NTD News.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Jacksonville Jaguars defensive tackle DeJuan Smoot delivered his own daughter at home early Tuesday morning. It happened after his wife collapsed in their living room when they were about to leave for the hospital. He recounts how a 911 operator walked him through the birthing process.
During the time that the ambulance, we were always on the phone with the ambulance, they told me to grab a shoestring, which I had no idea what I was going to use a shoestring for. But I grabbed a shoestring and they told me to tie it around the umbilical cord to allow the blood flow to be able to go to the baby. And yeah, that's what we used. They just walked me through it, and I grabbed one of my shoes and just tore it out as soon as I could.
The 26-year-old shared these photos of his new daughter, Alane Moon Smoot, on his Instagram page, writing, "The moment his wife collapsed was the scariest moment of his life." Smoot said his wife and daughter are doing well. With modern technology all around us, we often forget about the cycles of nature and the cosmos that our ancestors always relied upon. But our health, knowledge, culture, and future are still impacted by our connection to the sun, moon, planets, and beyond. NTD's K Rubick has the story.
I can't believe it's taken me this long to see this.
We could alter the course of somebody's entire life just in that one moment.
Discovery is its own kind of enlightenment.
Everything is alive. Everything has a purpose.
Is everything sacred?
Everything's sacred.
Living synthesis between rock and sunlight and what's been created by the humans.
That's correct.
New York City, Los Angeles, they experience eternal twilight and they never get to experience a true dark sky.
Looking up makes you appreciate looking down.
Here is the most treacherous part.
I thought that's the end.
Huh?
I thought it would be the end.
No, we're still going.
We got to get around this corner.
Oh my gosh!
200-300 years from now, all of this is going to be gone. Discovery is its own kind of enlightenment. It's its own kind of reward. It's when you watch this happen and you record it over the year and you know exactly how it works and how they were using it, and you know that you're the team that's discovering this, it gets me emotional sometimes. So and it makes us realize what else is here. So caves and cave shelters were special places for the Native Americans. Very often they were seen as the link between the worlds. A cave was a place where you entered into the sacred other, that other space.
Like a portal.
Like a portal. Caves then, with petroglyphs in them, generally are a very sacred portal. That's a very sacred space for them. If you sit here, I watched the last 4 years Jupiter and Saturn move across the cave ceiling in the sky, rising here and moving over, setting over there.
I like seeing that light go on. I like seeing that from a little kid seeing Saturn for the first time or the moon, to seeing an old guy going in there and just being floored. I can't believe it's taken me this long to see this. And when somebody comes here expecting to see Hubble pictures through the telescope, I'm always happy. You know, I always say I'm here to lower your expectations. Yeah, it's not going to look like Hubble. Those photons are shooting across space. And when they hit something, that's it, that photon's dead. It's not going anywhere else. So when you're looking at a photon coming from a galaxy that's 50 million light years away, you stop that photon with your eyeball. That photon's not going anywhere. It's traveled 50 million light years to go to you.
Tune in to Life and Times every week on NTD Television.
China gets help from a U.S. company to solve its energy crisis. Beijing is set to double its import of natural gas from America, and a Japanese company is investing billions of dollars in the U.S., while another company from Japan is fined $100,000 for choosing the wrong day to launch a new product in China. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has more on the story.
Where can China turn to for help while in the throes of its energy crisis? It is turning to the U.S. Beijing is said to import more natural gas from America, more than double the current rate. This after Chinese state-run companies made long-term supply deals with one of the biggest U.S. gas producers, Venture Global LNG. According to a Financial Times report, from 2023 on, China's oil and gas giant Sinopec and its trading arm will get 5 million tons of liquefied natural gas per year from the American company. In comparison, last year, China imported only about 4 million tons of gas from the U.S. The deals seem to be good news for the communist regime, as the country's power squeeze is leading to blackouts both in factories and residential areas and hitting China hard. A Japanese electronics giant got a fine of over $150,000 in China for the date it chose to launch a new product. Sony Group's Chinese subsidiary got the fine over violations of China's advertising laws. It began this summer when the company announced it would hold a product launch event on July 7th. That's the anniversary of an incident in 1937 that triggered a war between China and Japan. Sony canceled its plan following backlash from Chinese netizens. But Chinese authorities still issued the fine last week, saying Sony's move hurt the dignity of the nation, and this is against China's advertising laws. Sony's fine is the most allowed under Chinese law for this kind of accusation. Economic interactions between the U.S. and Japan seem to be increasing. Japanese automaker Toyota is planning to invest more than $3 billion in the U.S. through 2030 to make automotive batteries. Toyota is the world's largest automaker by volume. The next plant aims to start production in 4 years. It's expected to create about 2,000 new jobs in America. Toyota's North America CEO Ted Ogawa said in a statement, the investment will help usher in more affordable electrified vehicles for U.S. consumers.
Education is a key part of the Chinese Communist Party's warfare against foreign countries. A French senator says the threat is very serious since the government spends much less money on protecting universities' independence than the CCP spends on infiltrating them. NTD's correspondent David Vives has the story.
Universities in France are vulnerable to influence by the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. That's according to Senator Etienne Blanc, who's part of a commission that measures CCP interference on French campuses. He said the Chinese regime efforts are underestimated and could pose a serious threat to the university's independence.
If we compare our means of defense with the Chinese means to exert Beijing's influence, China's means are really considerable. We have to find new ways to protect ourselves.
The senator quoted a 650-page military report released in September on Beijing's influence operations. The report highlights the continuous efforts of the CCP to use education as a form of warfare against Western countries. In 2018, a Chinese university director addressed teachers who would be sent abroad to Confucius institutes, saying their goal was to integrate the red DNA and spread it to future generations in Western countries. Aside from the institutes, there's another method of warfare that may be even more dangerous: the monitoring of Chinese students. In 2015, Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping said at a conference that Chinese students in foreign countries are a priority target for monitoring, and that they should be prevented from being infected by Western IDs. The military report quotes examples of different strategies used on Chinese students when they speak out against the CCP while abroad. The regime might have their parents arrested in mainland China or make them the target of cyberbullying campaigns by other students who work with the CCP. And the increasing number of Chinese students who attend universities in the US, Europe, Canada and Australia can be used as powerful leverage for warfare, according to the report. Senator Blanc says it's important to recognize the methods used and the threat of CCP in universities.
The CCP considers our system to be not good for people, for humanity. It constrains, forbids, threatens, and uses violence. For us, this is fundamentally incompatible with who we are. We think the opposite, that our system is good, that it protects people, that it protects humanity.
David Vives, NTD News.
Just ahead, a Christmas tradition, ice skating, has returned at London's Natural History Museum, but this will be the last opening of the iconic rink after 16 years of operation. And Japan's Princess Mako has set her wedding date after a long delay over a money scandal. Yet marrying a commoner means giving up her royal status. Find out more in just a moment.
I will bless those who bless you.
Here in Israel and the former Soviet Union, the Jewish people are living in very difficult times. There are now thousands of destitute, elderly Jews who are desperately in need of basic food. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews is on the ground with survival food boxes, but the need for food is growing. Call or go online now and say, I will bless these children of Abraham.
It's the elderly widows who are hurting the most. Many of them are also Holocaust survivors who are once again crying out for help. Their need, as you can see, is extremely urgent.
Right now, you can give a gift of life of $25 that will help rush an emergency food box to an elderly Jewish person who doesn't have enough to eat.
Together, we bring them comfort and love, but just as important, we bring them this life-saving food box.
A gift of $25 will help rush one emergency food box. Without your response, their pain and suffering will continue.
Inside of every box, we put a note that says, this box is donated because of the generosity of Christians around the world.
For over 35 years, this trusted ministry has given Christians like me a way to tangibly bless Jewish people who are in need throughout the world.
Wherever in the world the Jewish people have the greatest need, our spiritual mandate is to feed the hungry and to care for the widows and orphans.
Call or go online now and say, I will save a life. I will bless and comfort the Jewish people.
New Zealand's Prime Minister paused briefly as an earthquake rattled their capital while she was addressing the nation in a briefing today, but then she continued speaking.
Aucklanders will be able to leave Auckland for domestic travel.
Sorry, a slight distraction. Would you mind repeating that question?
Wellington and nearby areas were shaken by a 5.9 magnitude earthquake. And while the shaking was felt widely, there were no reports of damages or injuries. The U.S. Geological Survey put the magnitude at 5.6. New Zealand often experiences weak to medium intensity earthquakes as it lies on the seismically active Ring of Fire, a 25,000-mile arc of volcanoes and ocean trenches around much of the Pacific Ocean. The world's largest and highest Ferris wheel opened to the public in Dubai with a lavish drone and fireworks show. Located on the Blue Waters Island, the Dubai Eye stands at 750 feet tall. It can take over 1,700 visitors in one rotation, which takes just over 30 minutes. The Dubai Eye is the latest attraction to open in the region's tourism and business hub after the Waxwork Museum, Madame Tussauds, opened earlier this week. Dubai is hoping to attract millions to the Expo 2020 World Fair, which opened earlier in October after a year-long delay due to the pandemic. The Ice Rink at London's Natural History Museum is a seasonal attraction at Christmas time, but the winter tradition is drawing to a close. This year will be the last chance for skaters to enjoy the ice here.
For 16 years, ice skating at the Natural History Museum has been a Christmas tradition for many Londoners. Now it's time for this iconic venue to bid farewell after serving its last holiday season until January 16th.
When you see people coming through the gates, families and friends smiling, this is why we do what we do. And at this iconic venue, it's hard not to see why people would come down to this venue and skate beneath the lights of the pea lights in the trees and around this amazing Christmas tree.
Starting Friday, skaters can enjoy the ice against the backdrop of the museum and a 30-foot Christmas tree. That's according to International Marketing Group, or IMG, the rink's organizer. Later on, the annual winter tradition will come to an end, making way for the museum's plans to transform the space into a green hub.
Ferrari Formula One drivers are preparing for the U.S. Grand Prix in Austin with golf trick shots. The race car drivers are using golf to unwind from racetrack stress.
I've been a golfer for the last 4 or 5 years, king golfer. I got Lando into golf just by forcing him to do more stuff outdoors and not so much computer games. He fell in love with the sport and now he's obsessed more than me.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to just disconnect from racing. I mean, I use golf and music a little bit the same way. Just whenever I need to disconnect from it, you go on a golf course and I just forget all about racing, and it's all about trying to hit that ball the best way I can.
Sainz and Leclerc are probably hoping their track performance is better than their golf trick shots. They teed off under the guidance of long drive world champion Kyle Berkshire. The U.S. Grand Prix is scheduled for Sunday, with practice and qualifying races before that. 10 teams of drivers will compete over 56 laps. Leclerc says he missed his original flight ahead of the race because an airport official in Monaco questioned his authorization to travel. During the CCP virus pandemic, athletes are allowed an exemption to travel to the United States. Eyewitness videos show dozens of riders stuck on a roller coaster ride at the Universal Studios Japan theme park today after a temporary power outage hit the area. The rides stopped when parts of Osaka faced a blackout around midday. The blackout also affected 3,200 households. Investigations for the cause of the outage are underway. The 35 passengers who were stranded have been rescued, and power has since been restored. No injuries were reported. This month, Japan's Princess Mako will marry her former college classmate, a commoner, and renounce her royal status. The marriage was originally planned for 2018, but was delayed after a money scandal put the couple under intense public scrutiny.
Japan's Princess Mako will have a royal wedding with her college sweetheart, Kei Komuro, next Tuesday. The groom-to-be is a 30-year-old Japanese commoner, a law graduate now residing in New York. Their marriage comes after a 3-year engagement plagued by money scandal involving the Komuro family, which left the 29-year-old princess with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Japanese people want the imperial family to exist without any troubles connected to money, the economy, or political interests. People want them to have high standards of morality. People admire them.
Months after their engagement, the press reported on a financial dispute between Komuro's mother and her former fiancé. The man claimed the family hadn't repaid a debt of about $35,000. Yet Komuro said the money was provided as a gift instead of a loan. Mako's father, Crown Prince Akashino, announced in 2018 that the marriage wouldn't happen without solving the financial issue, but he gave in at Mako's insistence. Komuro returned to Japan in September after 3 years of study at Fordham University's law school. His casual ponytail again caused a media frenzy, and it was deemed disrespectful. Earlier this week, he visited Mako's parents in a dark suit and tie, ponytail shorn. Opinion polls show mixed feelings among ordinary Japanese.
As a father of daughters, I think it must be quite painful for Crown Prince Akashino to recognize an unblessed marriage.
I think it is better to just leave them alone rather than to chase them too much.
The wedding on October 26 will mainly consist of filing paperwork, followed by a news conference. Mako will become an ordinary citizen after marriage. The couple will move to New York, where Komuro now works at a law firm.
A weekend is plenty of time to celebrate a memorable experience or go on an adventure. We have some tips on how to treat your weekend like a vacation. Here's Gina Marie, who brings us Strong Mind and Body.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. COVID-19 might prevent us from taking far-flung flights or road trips, but we can still find adventure close to home. It's not feasible for most to take time off for a full-blown vacation, but one thing that's possible is to get some of the same benefits by approaching weekends with more of a vacation mindset. There's even research that supports this assertion. Researchers conducted a study with 400 participants. They asked one group to treat a weekend as a vacation and the other to treat it like a regular weekend. The results were clear. Those who treated the weekend as if it was a vacation were significantly happier when Monday arrived than those that didn't. The researchers found that while the two groups of people engaged in different activities, the bigger impact came from a shift in mindset among the vacationers. They were more mindful of and attentive to the present moment throughout the weekend's activities. One of the best ways to take advantage of the weekends is by planning micro-adventures. Author and world traveller Alistair Humphreys is a big proponent of micro-adventures. He describes it as something different, something exciting but cheap, simple, short and on your doorstep. A few ideas might be hiking a new trail, camping in the backyard, biking instead of driving, exploring a new neighbourhood or a cookout on the beach. With a bit of forethought, these activities can fit into your typical weekend. They'll pay happiness dividends all week long. And even if you don't have an entire weekend to devote to micro-adventures, you can still gain the benefits of a vacation mindset by carving out a bit of intentional time. This is where you can slow down, calm down, take notice and have a relaxing time.
Things are about to get pretty nutty. Celebrate all the nuttiness on October 22nd because it's National Nut Day. Almonds, pistachios, pecans, and many others are a large part of many people's diets, sometimes used as a topping or as a standalone snack. Some nuts can provide necessary good fats, and some are filled with minerals and nutrients. Nuts also have a long shelf life and are easy to take along when you're on the go. If you want to celebrate with others, you can use the hashtag National Nut Day on social media. Whether you've seen Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel frescoes in person or not, an immersive exhibit in New York City will give you an entirely different experience. Visitors get to see life-size replicas of the famed frescoes up close and in detail. NTD's Shen Yun has more.
Michelangelo is widely considered one of the greatest artists of all time. Now, for a limited time, you can see the Renaissance master's Sistine Chapel frescoes up close from a never-before-seen perspective.
The stunning frescoes, which previously could only be seen from 60 feet below on the Sistine Chapel's arched ceilings, can now be viewed from mere inches, and you don't have to travel out of the country.
Post-pandemic, and even currently now, it's still pretty hard for some people to travel around the world. So this is a cool way to bring that experience to people locally.
There's no photography allowed in the Sistine Chapel, but here, visitors can take as many pictures as they want.
What we've done is we've tried to replicate how the lighting hits the same way as in the Sistine Chapel, and we've done our best to orientate all of the images to be the same as how they're originally positioned on the ceiling. I mean, these paintings took Michelangelo 5 years to complete, and you can really just see the amount of detail and creativity that came into all of these paintings throughout that time.
Visitors shared with us their thoughts on the exhibit. Antonio Encarnacion, who has seen the original work in Vatican City, says the exhibit gave him a deeper appreciation of the art.
It's a very humbling experience because it's the first time that we saw it up close, and finally we understood some of the images and the details behind the paintings of Michelangelo as well.
I love sculpture, and this is as close to sculpture as you can get in 2 dimensions. It's excellent.
Don't live in New York City? Not to worry. The Sistine Chapel exhibit is available in California and Ohio and will be coming soon to Florida and Tennessee. Chenny Wu, NTD News, New York.
Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again tonight at 6:30 Eastern. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Before you go, here's something you should know. Don't forget you can catch all of NTD's programs on television. NTD Business premieres live Mondays through Fridays at 5 p.m. We broadcast to many of your favorite platforms, Apple TV and Roku, for example. We're also rapidly growing on cable, satellite, and over-the-air all across the United States. Just go to ntd.com/TV, type in your zip code, and find all the ways you can watch NTD.